Caribbean is often described as the most tourism-dependent region in the world. A Titan is described as one that stands out for greatness of achievement, one who is influential in his field. I'm Marlene Stevenson Daly. Welcome to our podcast. We call it Jamaica's Tourism Titans. It's about the movers and shakers of the industry, men and women who have contributed to its growth and development in Jamaica, the region, and indeed the world. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome again to another episode of Jamaica's Tourism Titans. Now, my guest has been Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism since January 2006. As Permanent Secretary, she is the Chief Administrator in the Ministry and provides policy advice to the Ministry of Tourism and strategic guidance on all matters to the divisions and agencies that fall under the Ministry's purview. Now, today we're going to get to know her a little bit more. So whether you're listening in from Spain, from Austria, from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, if you're listening from the Cayman Islands, wherever you are in the world, if you're here in Jamaica, welcome, welcome, welcome. P.S., as she's affectionately called, welcome. How are you?
I am very fine, Marlene.
It is so good to have you. I have been waiting for this for a little bit, I must tell you. And I should tell our listeners that you are looking resplendent this morning in your canary yellow and black and white polka dot. You say it's what? Sunshine? Summer sunshine?
Summer sunshine. Yep.
All right. P.S., take us a little bit back. Where were you born? Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your family.
All right. I was born in Galena, St. Mary, on the seaside.
Yes.
So, in a sort of extended family, my parents, my grandparents, aunts and uncles, cousins. So I grew up around a lot of family members. My grandmother was the matriarch of the family. And Jamaican grandmothers, right? Strict,
yes.
And you have to be polite. You have to say good morning to everybody.
Yes.
You have to say your prayers. You have to study, read your books, and so forth.
Yes.
So
and read your Bible too.
And go to Sunday school. Go to Sunday school.
Yes.
So I grew up in that kind of environment in Galena, St. Mary, from my early years. Then my parents migrated to England. You know the trip
yes,
to England,
yes,
right? So
yes,
my parents
yes.
migrated. And so my grandmother was my main caregiver. Myself and my two brothers. I fall between two brothers.
Ah, okay.
So we had wonderful, glorious days, romping in the wide open,
Can you
fields.
swim? Can you swim?
Yeah, I can help myself.
Okay, because I know a lot of people live by the
yeah.
sea in Jamaica and they can't swim.
I live by the seaside, not by the beach.
Okay.
That's the difference because you have a lot of coralline rocks.
Yes,
rocky,
and I know
rocky
Galena
cliffs.
in St. Mary.
And Galena is like that.
Breezy.
Right, it's
Lots,
nice.
yes,
Exactly.
really nice.
But it's mostly coralline rocks along the coast. So, but yes, I can help myself.
So how would you describe your 10-year-old self?
My 10-year-old self? Oh, wow. I was a tomboy.
With two brothers,
two brothers,
yes.
right? And lots of cousins and neighbors. And so we used to spend a lot of time out by the seaside. We had lots of coconut trees. So we used to play cricket and football and baseball and climb trees and eat sea grapes and
Yes.
eat locusts and drink coconut water. And I didn't realize then, but now I know that was absolute bliss. Life was wonderful.
Yes. Did you have any idea at that time, as a young girl, of what you wanted to be? Did you have any dreams of becoming, some people dream of doing all kinds of things?
Then I wanted to be a teacher because I always sort of in charge of my two brothers.
Yes.
Directing them and making sure they do the right thing and so forth. So I thought I would have been a teacher, and sort of that's what I always had in the back of my mind. But as I grew up and started going to high school and so on, I loved geography, I loved earth sciences. And
where did you go to high school?
I went to high school partially at Oberlin High School, in St. Andrew, and then at Immaculate High School. So those are my 2 high schools.
Okay, so you have 2 alma maters.
Yes, I do. I do.
And did high school prepare you for just perhaps the things that would have happened to you as you progressed in your career? Because at one point you did do some teaching, you did do some lecturing.
Yes, I did. Well, whatever you learn in life, you find that they always become useful at some point or the other. So knowledge is cumulative. What you learn today, you may not use it immediately.
Yes.
But sometime down in the future, you find that things come back to you.
Yes.
And you find you have to go back to something you know from a long time ago that you think you have forgotten.
So whether it's the experience or the knowledge,
you can always draw on it. And I find that what I am today is a composite of all that I've been over time.
So tell me now, after high school, between Oberlin and Immaculate, what was the next step on your academic journey?
All right. So I told it that I would have done the earth sciences. I love geography and geology and so on. So I said, okay, I can go to university and I can do the earth sciences and then I'd be a teacher.
Okay.
I'd imagine, And then, but then this program started at UTech called Urban Planning. And it was an application of all of the earth sciences, plus economics, sociology, and, so it was a much more rounded field, as it were. And so it was sponsored by a Dutch government, I recall. And so there was a call for students to enter the program. And so I was one of the person, the first cohort of urban planning. Yes, being taught at university. Then it was CAST, College of Arts, Science and Technology. And so I was in that group. And I did well. It was, I guess I found my niche sort of. And I did well. Completed the program, highest honors, left it. And then, okay. But I was recruited out of the program to work at CAST because there was a big project going on where they were doing some physical expansion. So that's when they built the library.
The Calvin McCain Library?
Yes. And I think it was a science block. So they had those 2 big projects going on. And so I became one of the project managers for those projects. And I did that for 2 years. And then
so would you say that was your first job then?
That was my first job.
Okay.
But of course, while I was doing planning, one of my lecturers was an architect, a really sharp fellow. Ben Niels was his name, and Ben started a little firm called Alternative Technology, and so we used to build models, buildings and roads and
All right.
Development projects.
Yes,
we used to build the models, right? So that was my first job, and then of course I went into project management at CAST. Did that for 2 years, and then I went away to study. So I would have done planning, architecture and construction. I don't understand the hard side of development.
That's quite interesting.
And so when I went to study,
who would have thunk it?
There you go. So when I went to Rutgers, I did urban studies, which was more the softer side of development.
Yes.
So I spent more time doing sociology and urban systems, how systems work, politics and government and those sort of things.
Right, and being able now to also have that interface with people.
Exactly. And so that for me was good. So when I finished my first degree, again I did very well. And my professor was saying, well, you can't go back to Jamaica. You need to go on and do your master's. And so I stayed on for 2 more years. And I did my master's degree in public administration. In fact, I was doing a double major. I was doing public administration and business administration.
Okay.
Because although I was doing all of the public administration type things, where, more about governance and politics and finances and, how you make decisions and all of that. But I also was doing real estate investment and, yes. And in fact, I did my thesis on housing financing. Yeah. So by the time I was finished, I left Rutgers before finishing the public administration program, but we need a semester to finish the MBA.
The MBA.
But I returned to Jamaica, and I got married. You know, and I said, I'm going to go back and finish. And then I'm going to go and do my PhD. But then I started having children.
Yeah, and the rest is history.
The rest is history. The rest is history.
But before you move on, though, reminisce a little bit about your time at Rutgers University, where you did both the bachelor's and the master's degree. What kind of space were you operating in at that time? I would imagine you were a minority in that sort of setting. And what did you do to come out with such high honors?
All right. I think God has always been with me, I take it, because I was very fortunate in that we have good family friends living in South Orange. I went to New York campus, and we had good family friends in South Orange. It was a nice community.
Yes.
And so I lived in South Orange.
Okay.
And would travel to New York to school. And after the first winter, you know, we lived on a nice street with long street with, you know, tree lined and
yes,
lovely. And so I enjoyed the summer. Then autumn came and all the leaves came.
Yes. And then
we had a big yard. And so we were forever sweeping leaves. And then winter came. Mm-hmm. And the lovely long avenue and the nice long driveway weren't so lovely anymore because snow was everywhere. And then I walked to the bus stop, and, you know, goodness. The cars would pass, and when the cars passed or anything passed, you know, I used to feel like cold
slicing
hit you,
yes.
slice through your bones. I said, oh, my Lord. Okay, now coming from Jamaica, you know, and arriving in America in the summer months, you know, it kind of hit me, right? So I said, okay, fine. So how do I solve this one? I said, all right, I'm not going to spend another winter at the bus stop. I must drive. I must have a motor vehicle. And so that was my objective, and I worked that out. And so I was always good after that. All right? No more snowy streets and slush, long walks in the slush. Anyway, what's a part of the experience?
Whether rain, snow, sleet, or whatever, you have to be there.
Exactly. And then I had good friends. It was a time when Jamaicans were going up to America to study. So I had friends. I made friends. I made Jamaican friends, American friends. And I was very comfortable. I had a very nice experience at Rutgers for the 4 years. I really can't say I had a rough time and life was hard, didn't have any money. Mm-hmm. No, I don't have any hard luck stories to tell. I had a good I was on scholarship.
Yes.
I had a good scholarship that covered all my expenses.
Great.
I was living among family friends.
Yes.
And I had relatives in, Connecticut and New York, and so I could go spend weekends and so on. So I had a wonderful time.
So coming back to Jamaica now, and you got married and you started to have children. You didn't make it back to Rutgers. Mm-hmm. But did you go back to the University of Technology?
Yes, because I was on scholarship. Mm-hmm. So I went back, and in fact I spent 7 years there lecturing. So I went back in the same, it was physical planning, used to call it then, because it was urban and rural planning. Mm-hmm. So I went back into the physical planning department, and I lectured, planning, and I did economics and project management. And then when we started the entrepreneurial program, I used to lecture in that program as well with Sandra Glasgow. So
yes.
Right. So I was there for 7 years. So I had my kids while I was there.
What brought you to tourism? Because you're one of the chief architects, I must say.
So then when, after my third child was born, I said, okay, fine. All right. Do I want to always be teaching, or do I want to be doing, What can I offer my services elsewhere? Mm-hmm. And so because I always thought I was going to work in an international organization, international development organization, yes. So I started looking around and said, okay, fine, should I apply to World Bank or IDB or, So that's kind of where my head was at. And then a friend told me that there was a planning position in the Ministry of Tourism.
And that was up your
street.
And
I was also thinking that, if I were, so I said, okay, but if I were to think about Jamaica and think of a sector to go in, which sector is growing? Where does the future of Jamaica lie for economic development? And I said, tourism is a good sector to join. And so I applied for a job. And so I joined Ministry of Tourism as a tourism planner with the big responsibility of coordinating development of the first comprehensive tourism development plan. It's called a Master Plan for Sustainable Tourism Development, a 10-year planning horizon. And I worked with Colonial Secretariat on that plan because they were the consultants and they were the financiers of the project. Mm-hmm. And that really, if you want to learn a sector, do some planning of that sector. You're forced to learn everything about tourism. And so we did that. It took us a while because just to get diagnosis right, because we have to first understand tourism in Jamaica, its history, development, because tourism grew quite organically, right?
Yes.
And so people were in tourism, but many persons didn't fully appreciate what tourism meant and where it could get us as a country.
Yes.
And persons didn't see the average Jamaican as a part of the tourism sector. This was an enclave industry.
Yes.
And so we had to do a lot of teaching.
Public education
as it went along. And so it was really quite exciting. So we went around the country about 3 times, just discussing tourism and what it's all about and where we want to take it, what are the potentials. And we did that diagnosis before we actually did the actual master plan.
Mm-hmm. That master plan is still with us. Perhaps there's need for some refreshing and looking back at it, but it has served us well, I believe.
Yes. And since then, we've done Vision 2030. The tourism chapter in Vision 2030, we did it.
Right.
So it would have been an upgrade
yes,
on the master plan. And right now, we're doing what we call a tourism strategy and action plan. We're actually doing that now, which will be a further update of the master plan. So the work planning is not static. So you have to keep on updating, reviewing, updating.
And as we evolve and the technologies that have overtaken us over the last couple of years.
And tourism today is not tourism yesterday.
Yes.
And then COVID came. So it's a whole different set of demographics, whole different.
All right. COVID is another
focus
matter.
on tourism.
We're going to talk a little bit about that when we come back. We're talking with the Permanent Secretary in Jamaica's Ministry of Tourism. And you're listening to Jamaica's Tourism Titans. We'll take a little break. We'll be right back.
In tourism, the people are the product. Yes, they are one of our industry's most important assets. They help create memorable lifetime experiences. They, through their service, make the difference. We share the stories of their challenges and triumphs, of what makes them tick, of who they really are, just to inspire you to act positively. You too can be an ambassador for tourism and our country and become a Jamaican tourism titan. Start today.
TPDCO's Explore Jamaica has insights into licensed tourism entities across Jamaica. Visit the Google or Apple Play Store and download the app today. Welcome back to Jamaica's Tourism Titans. I'm Arlene Stevenson-Daly, and today our special guest is Jennifer Griffith, and she's a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Tourism. She is a lady who has received national honor for her contribution to the tourism sector. In 2018, she was awarded the Order of Distinction, Commander Class. She continues to give yeoman service to the ministry and all of its agencies. And before we took the break, we were talking about COVID. What has been your greatest challenge in Jamaica's Ministry of Tourism thus far? And just share with us how you dealt with this.
Well, it has to be the COVID pandemic.
I think that has been the greatest challenge
COVID
for all
pandemic.
of us.
Yes, that came upon us, and we didn't know what it was, where it was going, how long it would last, how disruptive it would have been. And so, yes, that certainly would have been my greatest challenge in tourism. But you know what, though? We have a Minister of Tourism, Edmund Bartlett, who takes on challenges, who thinks outside of the box. And he was really a champion leader throughout the COVID pandemic. And the ministry of tourism and all our tourism entities, we have a very good and strong and positive relationship with tourism private sector. And so what happened during COVID, what made us get out of it, as well as we did.
And to become a model for some countries as well.
Exactly. It was a joint effort between government and the private sector in just looking at the challenges and just working through them, strategizing day after day, night after night, thinking about the protocols. Our protocols came out early. Our COVID protocols came out early. We spent hours going over it, working through it, thinking of all elements of tourism. Then how do we implement? What's the role of TPDCO? What's the role of JTB? What's the role of TEF? Yes. How do you work with private sector? Try this model, try that model. And so, we worked together very, very well. We had this task force, COVID-19 task
Everybody,
force.
including the Ministry of Health and all this.
Yeah, we had all our government partners.
Yes.
And between tourism, health, everybody.
Security,
all of the tourism partners, the government side of it and the private side of it, we worked together and we came up with all of the strategies that we needed and all the programs and projects and awareness and, we just did what we had to do.
Yes.
We did
the
what we had to
resilience
do.
corridor, I think.
The resilience corridor was one. The protocol was a big one.
Yes.
And the tourism resilience corridor was another big one. And just TPDCO going around and doing all that education, all that training, and helping the various tourism private enterprises to become COVID compliant was a major thing. Yes. Was a major thing. But we got through it. And we have been doing well since that. And so if you want a challenge, COVID was a challenge. Yes, it was a challenge.
For young people who aspire to become, let's say, a permanent secretary or an official in the Ministry of Tourism, what are some of the must-have qualities? What must you bring to the table, not just from your skills or academic side, but that other side that talks about competencies and who should you be? You have to be
comfortable in your own shoes. You have to know what you're about. You have to be professional. You have to be fair. You have to be just. You have to be able to interact with everybody at whatever level.
Yes, you're dining with kings and queens today,
and you're on the sidewalk eating roast corn with somebody.
Yes.
Hello.
So you
it's all a part of tourism. You have to have a flexibility.
Yes.
You first can put on jeans and sneakers.
And you have worked across ministers.
Suits,
you
right?
have worked across different ministers.
You have to be able to get on with people.
Yes.
But you see, you have to have your own clearly thought out opinions and
you're there to give
things.
Advice.
Because you have there to give advice. Yes. So if you just say yes to everything.
You're the technocrat.
Yes, you can't just say yes to everything. So a minister will have an idea, and maybe a great idea. But it's your job now to sit and think it through.
Yes.
And said, okay, all right, this is a novel idea. Can it work? What would you need to do to make it work?
Yes.
What are the pros, what are the cons? And you have to do that analysis.
That risk analysis.
And you have to do the research.
Yes.
And if you go back and say, Minister, that's a good idea. But how about us approaching this way?
Yes.
Or maybe,
yes.
understand?
Yes.
And if it's a good idea, Minister, great, I think we can just run with this one.
Yes.
So you have to be able to
You're a sounding
speak
board.
with the minister.
Yes.
You have to be able to be honest. You have to be able to be honest and to say exactly how you feel about a thing and give the advice as necessary. So that's one thing. Be professional enough to give your son advice.
Yes.
Without being obnoxious.
Yes.
Without being know-it-all.
Yes.
So humility. You have to be professional. You have to be humble. You have to be honest.
Yes.
Right? And you have to take time to do research and analysis before.
Right. Make sure you are informed. You inform yourself.
And keep yourself informed. Keep abreast of what is happening around you.
Yes. A lot of people might look on and say the permanent secretary, she's a very strict lady and she's a no-nonsense lady and so, but you're a lady. So the gentleman said, before I was a man of God, I was just a man. So what does the PS do for fun? What do you do to let your hair down and just chill? What do you like to do?
I'm an outdoors person.
Ah, okay.
Right? I love the great outdoors. So
I could find you hiking.
I love to hike. I walk. I do mountain spring when I can on Saturday morning. Yeah. I love to go to the beach. I love to go just walk around the park. I love I love nature and anything that just make you one with nature or take you closer to nature.
Well, you have to do something for fun
Yeah.
because this
Yeah.
work can become very intense.
Yes, it can be.
It's
can
a
be.
hectic
It can
schedule
be.
that you keep.
It can be, yeah.
And sometimes I look around and I'm saying, but I'm sure I saw Pierce over there yesterday, and then she's way over yonder the next day, and another day she's somewhere else, and then there's another time where you just have to have your nose down
Yeah.
in the office,
Yeah.
making sure.
And you have to be able to manage your time, manage your workload and manage your time, and manage the people around you.
Yes, yes.
And one important thing too is the relationship with your staff. You have to be able to work well with your staff. You have to respect them, respect their opinion, their abilities. You have to ensure that they are comfortable coming to you,
Yes,
disagreeing with you if necessary.
yes,
All I say, be respectful.
yes. You mentioned the agencies, and I think you're not just responsible for what's happening in the ministry, but all of the agencies that in Jamaica we now refer to as public bodies.
Public bodies, yeah.
So, and you mentioned TPDCO earlier on, which is responsible for the product development. And the other agencies?
So we have Tourism Enhancement Fund, and of course the birth of the TF is a whole other story. So what we have
Because
is,
you
we
were
have
involved, you were part,
yes,
the architect of
Very
the,
much so.
the Tourism Enhancement Fund,
Oh, yes.
which was, I know there are other countries that have actually come to Jamaica to look at what this Tourism Enhancement Fund is all about. And we're not going to digress too far, but I'd love for you to just share with us how was that experience, and what exactly was the TEF established for?
All right.
How does that help us as
Yes.
a nation?
The TEF came out of the Tourism Master Plan for Sustainable Development, right? When we were developing the plan, and being a planner, I would have known about many plans being done over time. And one pitfall about all of this is that plans are developed, time, energy, resources spent. The plan is finished, nice and pretty. It sits on a shelf,
Nothing to
and it's never
implement
implemented.
it. No money.
And then you hear there's no money, there's no, And so early in the planning process, we decided that. I remember I had a discussion with the gentleman from the Commonwealth Secretariat. We said, listen, this plan is going to have life. And for it to have life, it must have resources.
Yes.
And so we said, okay, we're going to find a sustainable pool of funds to finance the recommendations out of the plan. And we spent a lot of time, long story short, we spent a lot of time with different ministers over time discussing how do we finance this master plan. And eventually, it was when we had Aluna Samba, when she was Minister of Tourism, and we said, Minister, we have to fund this plan. We have to find a way to get the money. And she brought some of her thinkers together, and we thought it through. And then we look at, in fact, we had Pricewaterhouse, we got different models of funding, the tourist card and, all these different things. And then it came up with the idea of this fee, a tourism fee. So we called it all kinds of names at first. And then we said, no, but you have to be careful if you call it, you have to be careful what they call it.
Yes.
Or you might find it goes in that, because tourism is so multidimensional. If you go environmental, heritage, or whatever it is,
Yes.
you may find that, there's a different kind of call on the funds. So we decided eventually to call it Tourism Enhancement Fund. And then it was how to collect it and how to make it sustainable. And since people come from all across the globe to Jamaica, how do you ensure that persons from Timbuktu going through London to come to Jamaica, how do you make sure you get the fund? And so it was a huge collaborative event between the ministry or a minister, the people who were in the Jamaica Tourist Board at the time. We had lawyers, we had a lot of people, a lot of good thinkers,
Yes,
good minds
putting their
around the
heads
table.
together.
And we had this, we didn't call it task force, it was really a task force. And we thought through the entire thing. And eventually we said, okay, we have to get IATA to collect the money for us. IATA is the International Air Transport Association. Say, okay, get IATA to collect, and then the local handlers in Jamaica, because there are some charters and so on who have local handlers, get them on board, get them to collect. And we decided, okay, fine, how will you move the thing? So we decided eventually we need to have a code on your ticket, right? HG code.
Yes.
And the HG code means that you have to collect the tourism management fee. So where a party purchase ticket, you pay at source. And so it was quite a bit of thinking. A lot of persons were involved, but we got it, and we got it right. And the Prime Minister of the day said, if you can collect the money, you can keep it. Right? And so we said, okay, we're going to collect it. And so we're allowed to establish this fund that was managed by tourism, right? And we could therefore determine how the funds
would be used for the enhancement.
And we began to do so. But you know something, what I discovered in all of that? We now had the money. We have the ideas. But it was so difficult to get big transformational projects to happen.
Yes.
Why? Because tourism is as Minister would say now, a series of moving parts that come together. And so we don't own the substantive assets as government.
Yes.
You see? To be able to command
so no
and direct
sector has
and
to
determine.
Get involved.
So many of, for example, land resources are owned by other government entities, not the Ministry of Tourism. So when you want to do development in Port Royal or in Falmouth or in Black River or in Spanish Town, we don't own anything of real estate in those places. Right? And so maybe your partners, your government partners, maybe their development perspective is not yours. It's a little bit different.
Yes, and the timing could be different.
And the timing could be different. True. And the focus could be different. The priority could be different.
Yes.
And so it's still, even with the funds, it was difficult to get some things done. But we have been working on this steadily, as you know. We have gotten many things done. And we are thankful for all of that.
Yes.
And we are happy with our partners.
Yes, and
the
we're
funds
happy
are
that
now
they're
back
able
in
to collect.
the funds are now back in central coffers.
Yes,
but we still get our budget and we get our allocations and we make a request and the funds.
And you
now,
make the best of
and
what
we make the best of what we get out of the annual vote for our budget.
And things are happening. We look around and we see so many different things happening, and we're very happy for that.
Yes.
Just before we wrap up today, do you have any pet peeves?
Oh dear, pet peeves. Well, my biggest pet peeve would in fact be the limitations on tourism to get things done. I just mentioned, for example,
yes.
we don't always have the authority or control of the resources to make some big differences.
Yes.
But though, we are never short of ideas. And so we tackle those big things that we can tackle and we can bring to fruition.
Yes.
For example, the pension scheme, the tourism workers pension scheme.
Yes, that was another.
You know, and the JCTI with all the training we're doing, and the linkages program.
Yes.
You know, and the many policies that we have done. So we
How do you eat an elephant? They say one
bite at a time.
And that's what you do.
Right. Sometimes we take 10 bites sometimes, you know, and try to chew slowly. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult, but we don't. But we're resilient, and we are agile, and we think, and we work together, and we get the job done.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Jamaica is better off for having that kind of tenacity in the tourism team.
Yes.
Now, you're a grandma. What do you like most about being a grandmother?
Oh, dear. Yes, I have 2 grandchildren. One is 4, and the other is 2 going on 3.
And they'll soon be directing your life.
They are. You know, I think they keep you young. They keep you alert. They're just so smart. Children these days are very smart, I realize. You know, just last night, if I can give you a story, just last night, my little granddaughter, she's 2 going on 3.
Yes.
And so she's going to be going to school in September.
Wow. A
new school. And so my daughter went to get her school uniforms and stuff. And she got her new school shoes and new school bag and so forth and so on.
She's ready.
But she used to wear black shoes to school. No. She got a nice lunch kit and backpack with nice psychedelic, one of these cartoon characters on it, right? It's a pretty bag and so on. And so we're trying on her shoes. And she got up. She went to her shoe stand. And she selected some sneakers with the same kind of psychedelic colors on it.
Yes, you want to match.
And she came back and said, this match with my bag. I'm wearing this to school. And she said, I'm a Kimbo. This is what I'm wearing to school. No, she's not even 3 years old yet, okay? So these kids, they keep you on their toes.
Yes.
They know what they want. They'll tell you. They're demanding.
Yes.
And they think. They're thinkers. You can't tell them anything to keep them quiet.
It's a different generation.
It's a different generation. So I'm excited by them. I love them. They keep me young and alert and alive, and they're just fantastic.
Yeah, so I don't need to ask you the question, what keeps you going, because you have already answered it. What advice, Permanent Secretary Jennifer Griffith, would you give to Jamaicans who are at home and perhaps across the diaspora, across the world, in respect of investing in Jamaica's tourism industry? At this time, we are doing well. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of opportunity. But what do you say to our Jamaicans, those who are here listening in and those who are abroad listening into this program?
Tourism is here to stay. Tourism is resilient. And so it's a good sector in which to invest. People, you and I, the average man, is of a view that is a God-given right to travel, to experience, to explore new places, new things. Mm-hmm. And so people will always travel. Jamaica is a good destination. We are rich and vibrant. We have the mountains, we have the valleys, we have the beaches, we have our rich culture, our heritage, sports, entertainment. Jamaica is so well positioned for growth and development that, you can't lose investing in Jamaica.
Yes. We're buzzing.
We are buzzing. And yeah, if you look around even now, somebody was saying to me yesterday the amount of bed and breakfast facilities that are around the country. And people seem to be doing well. Our tourism numbers are growing. And so it's a great place to invest. Yes. Jamaica is a good place in which to invest. So we'd encourage anybody.
Yes. And our 5 for 5 for 5, or 5 by 5.
By 5, yes.
That's coming along.
5 million in 5 years and $5 billion. We're there.
Yes. Finally, P.S., why should visitors who are listening into this podcast from several parts of the world, I know our minister is a chief marketer, but what would you say to those persons in terms of just coming to Jamaica?
If you want your heart to be beating again, if you want a new lease on life, if you need to be rejuvenated in mind, body, and soul, if you want to get a bit of that airy feeling, then come to Jamaica. Jamaica is a place with attitude. Jamaica is vibes. Jamaica is energy. Jamaica is fun.
Right.
Jamaica is warmth. Jamaica is beauty.
Yes.
Come to Jamaica.
All right. And we could end by saying, and feel
all right.
My special guest today, Miss Jennifer Griffith, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism here in Jamaica. It has been a pleasure, and I wish you many, many more years of success. And I want to just commend you for the hard work and the focused work that you have been doing over these years in the Ministry of Tourism. Many, many blessings to you.
Thank you so much, Marlene.
Join us again next time for another episode of Jamaica's Tourism Titans. Walk good. Thank you so much for listening to Jamaica's Tourism Titans. We welcome your feedback at letusknow@tpdco.org. Leave us a comment, share, like, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TPDCOJA. I'm Marlene Stevenson Daly. See you soon.